of the year and we're 7 minutes late. I feel like that's really kicking this year off on the right foot. Sly is here, maybe.
I'm so small.
Hello,
Why am I so small?
Why are you so small? Oh, also, why are you so loud?
Where am I supposed to be?
Yeah, it only says we can add up to 2 hosts or 2 guests. So join mine, Alexis.
But
Okay.
Sly's supposed to be a co-person. Go live with another host. What? That's so confusing. It's okay, everybody, though. Hey, we're about to start our Hawkeye after party live on YouTube, Twitch, and here on TikTok. We're going to talk all about that last episode of Hawkeye, the finale, our thoughts on the whole series. If you've watched any of these lives before, you know we have hot opinions on the representation of the show, what they've done with Clint Barton's character, the introduction of Kate Bishop, and tonight is really the finale of us popping off on all those thoughts. So welcome, welcome, welcome. You can come hang out on YouTube and Twitch with the links in my bio. And Sly is joining me here. There's also another TikTok stream with Marissa and Alexis and Jack that you can watch.
Shoot.
I'm missing.
I know what I forgot.
What? What? Hi, everybody.
I did
What'd
a
you forget?
pre-show, and the full time I was like, I'm forgetting something.
Okay.
I'll remember like when I need it. I forgot to set up my
Oh.
do not disturb. That's what I forgot.
Alexis, you sent a guest request. You have to start your own live and
Chaos, people.
send a
What
host.
else would you expect? Bye, Danielle.
Have I always had to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, here.
Yeah. Oh, the joys. How's everyone's holiday season been? I see lots of familiar faces. How's everyone doing tonight?
Hey friends.
I'm just waiting for Alexis.
You may notice Marissa has multiplied. Tonight, her variant joins us.
That's too specific. You don't know how often we're asked for twins.
I've had that transition ready for weeks. I'm so glad it's finally out of my head. Why don't we let everyone introduce themselves, and specifically our new guest for the evening. Jack, feel free to let everyone know who you are, your thoughts on the Hawkeye season so far.
Yeah, wow, who I am. Okay, well,
We did it.
So I was born in
Take us way back.
I'm Marissa's brother. I live in Los Angeles. I went to USC Film School, and so I have a film degree. Fight on. I don't know if it's useful or not yet, but I'll let you know in a couple of years. I work as a visual effects artist in LA. I'm currently working on The Orville, which is Seth MacFarlane's Star Trek
So
spoof
cool, yeah.
on Fox. I also worked on Barry season 3 briefly, so that was really cool. I am a huge Marvel nerd. I feel like I can't say the biggest Marvel nerd in the present company, but in most companies, I'm the biggest Marvel nerd.
Right. It's hard to be the biggest Marvel person in this room specifically, but we'll let you have your happy thoughts.
I appreciate that. I liked Hawkeye.
Okay.
I didn't love it, but it's tricky because me saying it wasn't my favorite doesn't mean that much because they're all my favorite. So it's
right.
I still really enjoyed it, even though it doesn't hit the top of my list. That doesn't mean it wasn't great. My biggest complaint is it just felt really rushed.
Okay.
Especially for character arc and
Sorry, I missed that. What did you say?
I just wish we had twice as much time as we did. But there were a lot of elements that I enjoyed and a lot of things where I felt like could have been stronger than they were. But I still liked it. Clint's my favorite when I was watching the cartoons growing up. So I think this series, we finally got a lot more time with him. He's always been kind of a backup character. So I appreciate it.
But perhaps still not
having
enough
more time to explore.
Yeah,
definitely not. Definitely not. But in comparison, more than we've had. But yeah.
No, I respect that opinion.
Being here.
Thanks for having me.
I respect that now we have multiple people on the show that wanted to see more of Hawkeye, because I think there are some of us on the show that just simply did not care a lot about Clint before this show premieres. And now it's nice to have a bit of a balanced table, and that there's people that had active excitement to see this as opposed to very nonchalant viewership, which I have to say is kind of where I came from to this.
Mm-hmm.
I get that, and I think a lot of that has to do with how Marvel chose to introduce him, or how the MCU chose to introduce him. I think he was really underutilized. I mean, they introduced him as a villain, so people that don't know him would not initially like him based off his role in Avengers. And I mean, Thor was a cameo more than anything. So I just think that the biggest thing is he wasn't brought into the world in a way that makes audiences excited, I think. And I think they've kind of been trying to backtrack that ever since. And it hasn't really worked.
And we've talked a lot about backtracking on this show and how there's been a lot of pieces of this show that feel like they're trying to rework history and rework storytelling they've already built. So it's really nice to see that you're also sharing that opinion of, as someone who is excited for the show, as a fan of Hawkeye, it does seem like this story was intentionally created to reset the Hawkeye legacy. Sly, are you agreeing over there?
Yeah. So we've seen so much recently of them trying to improve the characters' representation that we've already established, and seeing the different choices they're making to try to achieve that. And for me, at least personally, not really working for me right now.
Not working for you.
I understand what they're trying to do here, but I don't think that they achieved it.
Okay. Sounds like a good transition to our rants of the week. But before we can even get to our rants of the week, we have to check in with our other hosts here today. So Sly, how are you doing post-finale? Do you want to introduce yourself to anyone who might be new watching?
Hi, I'm Sly. I'm deaf, queer person on the internet. You can find me here and on Point in Progress, etc., etc. I'm feeling okay. I have a lot of questions and not a lot of answers, which is disappointing. But there were some good moments, and I appreciate that. So, feeling confused, I guess.
Okay, checking in, feeling a solid confused. I respect that. I don't know if this show is going to add to the confusion, because it always does for me. I never leave the show with answers, only more questions. But someone who I go to when I have many questions, who sometimes has wise answers, is Alexis. How are you doing tonight?
Transition.
Thank you so much. And Alexis deserves it because she truly is the wisdom. Alexis, you're very muted. You're extremely muted.
Extremely muted.
There you go.
Extremely. Hi, I'm Alexis. I talk about comics, and the finale was what it was.
The finale was what it was. And is that the baseline you're checking in with today?
Yeah.
We do have an Alpine game coming later in the episode, which Alexis is very excited about. So we'll circle back on Alpine and all of the storytelling that must happen then. Marissa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. I'm Marissa at Miss Abyssa, Jack's older sister.
Your audio and video is cutting out.
Oh no! What's happening?
Oh no!
What's happening?
Every time you guys go to talk, the video quality goes down. Yeah, the video quality goes down a little bit every time you talk, but then you guys look great if you're not talking. And I don't know what to tell you to make that a little bit better. It's okay. Keep going. We'll do our best. Yeah.
Are we okay?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm Jack's older sister. He's a lot larger than me, but I am older.
Marissa does have her seat all the way up this evening.
I do. I'm trying to fill the space.
Exposing Marissa.
Yeah, we're learning all about TikTokers' heights, and I am not the tallest. Episode 6. Yeah, I agree with Alexis. It was an episode, and
it happened. We all experienced it.
I mean, some things happened, maybe?
Some things didn't happen.
Some things didn't happen.
Definitely. Absolutely.
And Yeah, I also agree with Jack. It was very rushed. It was like, it went from like the end of episode 5 being like, what? To the end of episode 6 being like, how did that all happen within an hour of television?
Yes.
And why was it the choice to put that all within an hour of television?
Yep.
Jack is looking at me because we have watched the majority of the show together.
Wow.
The first 2,
And the
maybe
last
episode.
It was the first 2 and the last 2.
No, and one in the middle. When I was
So
in LA.
all of them,
So it was all but one?
except for one.
Yeah.
If my math checks out.
Because it was like Thanksgiving, and then I visited him in California, and then he came back for Christmas. So it was like 1 week that we weren't together. So we've been sharing our feelings together. Disagree a little bit, but I think mostly we're pretty much in agreement about how we feel about the show.
Incredible. Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, we'll dig in more to the sibling opinions as we move through the show. But very quickly, if you don't know me, I'm producer Liz. I'm clicking all the buttons behind the scenes here. So if I'm sometimes looking in multiple directions, it's because we've got a lot happening back here. My thoughts on the finale. I had fun watching it for sure. Like, it was enjoyable in that I watched it on my couch and it was fun. And like, that's about as deep as I would go into that train of thought at this point. Because we'll hear more about my opinions as we go. I'd also like to say I don't really remember a lot of it, which is going to make our first game particularly fun this evening.
Yeah.
We've started this new game as per, I think Alexis is the one that came up with it. So credit to you. But we are going to try and summarize this episode in, I guess we'll do 2.5 minutes. Everyone gets 30 seconds to add on as much detail as they can remember. So if you missed the finale, if you need a little bit of context before we dig into our conversation, hopefully we'll cover all of our bases. I am absolutely not starting this. So who would like to go first?
Sly watched it yesterday. They should go
I
first.
watched it yesterday. Okay, Sly, you are being voluntold. You will kick us off on the right foot. And then the order will be Sly, and then Jack, and then Marissa, and then Alexis, and then I will finish. And everyone gets 30 seconds. That sound good?
I'm just going to read my notes. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, damn it, I should have done that.
My notes are not helpful. I will not be reading my notes out loud this evening. And Sly, here we go.
Okay, so the dad owed Kingpin like debts. The mom killed Armand. Jack fell for Sloane. The mom hired Yelena. There was a great arrow making montage. Gary came back. And Clint said, weird flex, but sure. And Jack bullied a kid.
Okay, Jack, keep going.
And then Kate like confronts her mom. And then her mom's like, we can't talk about this now. And then they go to some like fancy dinner and Clint goes with Kate. And then Kate says, Clint says, oh, we're partners. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to help you. And I'm like, that was not earned, but okay. And then they go with all the LARPers to this gala party, and they're all like in disguise.
At the gala party, they're like having a grand old time, and then Yelena busts through in her green jacket, looking amazing. But then also the tracksuit bros are like circling the building, and Kazi's across the street with his sniper, being all cool. And then I got really scared and sad for a second, and then it was fine, and then more stuff happened, and then I got scared and sad again.
Why?
Don't
Okay, Alexis.
There was a battle down the hallway in which the women congratulated each other on being badasses, and Clint was just happy that he got to knock people out. And then something happened, and Clint ended up in a Christmas tree with an owl. I don't super remember how we ended up there. And then stuff happened, and Kate was like, no, I got this. And she used special arrows to make the tree go kaboom. And Clint and the owl somehow fell out, and everybody ended up on the ice skating rink. And good luck finishing that.
So you're all gonna leave the most important parts of the plot to the person that does not remember the episode. But okay, in 20 seconds, I think there was a big battle on the ice rink, and they were shooting the arrows at all, like so many people from the Tracksuit Mafia, like literally thousands of extras who we have never seen in the entirety of the series, who all had matching sweatsuits, and I want the bill for that clothing order. And that's as far as I've gotten. So I'm gonna stop the timer and let's just very quickly.
Can I add
We
some
didn't even
things?
talk about Echo or Kingpin.
Or Laura.
I have a few things I want to add.
Oh,
Okay, Sly, you finish us off.
Okay. Some great quotes. Stop making me like you. Amazing. Nice shot. Yeah, no shit. It worked with the girlfriend. They went to see Maroon 5.
Oh yeah.
That's my favorite part of the entire episode.
Instead of Imagine Dragons, they saw Maroon 5
Yeah, they
instead,
saw
the
Maroon 5.
tracksuit guy. Yeah.
That was the arc I needed.
Yeah.
What else did I say? Oh, what the fuck was the owl?
Yeah.
Fuck the gloves. And oh, and then the rest we'll talk about later.
So I think
Also,
the final. Go ahead.
They didn't have matching tracksuits. There were 3 colors of tracksuits, and at no time did they define what the hierarchy was, if they were from different boroughs or if they were like different places in Kingpin's pyramid. And I need answers.
Because
I
there was
love
like the
it.
green
There was
and
green,
like
and there was
red,
red,
maroon,
Mhm.
or whatever, and then
blue, black.
oh yeah, the like dark whatever
Yeah.
color. Yeah.
So a couple other points. Kingpin did show up.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There is like a
Oh, yeah.
massive Kingpin Kate fight inside of the toy store in
Mom.
Rockefeller Plaza. Oh my god, I can't speak tonight. And then Kingpin gets like by Maya, but we don't see it on camera. Maya also Kazi. So
No.
no.
yeah,
Oh,
through the gut.
Okay. Well, either way, he is now permanently evicted from the island due to Maya. And that
not
happened.
here for
And
that.
Maya's gone. We don't know
Mhm.
where, but I guess to the start of her own show. So we'll see where she goes in the inevitable Echo
Without
show.
Kazi.
Without Kazi on her own, supposedly. And then the end of the episode is Kate's mom goes to jail, and then Kate and I was gonna say Jeremy Renner, but it is Clint Barton, not the actor. They go back to Laura and the kids on Christmas morning, and Kate spends Christmas with the Renner family, not the Renner family. Oh my god, the Barton family. I'm obsessed with this man, I
They
guess.
both live in cabins in the woods. It's fine.
Correct. And they
Clint
have
Barton's
a lovely
gonna get an
little
app
Christmas.
soon.
Oh my god.
Stop. We can't. Okay, with that, now that we are all semi caught up on the episode, let's transition to our rants of the week, which is one of our favorite chaotic segments, as if our summary of the show wasn't chaotic enough. Our hot opinions by hot people about what happened in Hawkeye. I know everyone has some very hot opinions about this episode. Does everyone have a rant that they're going to share this evening? Everyone is ready for chaos? So we'll do 30-second segments until everyone has had 4 turns. As per tradition, I will start because I have no patience when I actually know what I want to say. And then we'll be Sly, and then Jack, and then Marissa, and then Alexis. So when it's Jack and Marissa's turn to transition, just like hit each other, I guess. I don't know what siblings do when they're trying to hog the microphone in person. You'll figure it out. It'll be great. And with that, I will begin. Okay. So I think this owl was stupid for many, many reasons, because they never really justified what it was a metaphor for, at least, and maybe I just didn't catch it. Like maybe I'm having a blonde moment and just did not understand the owl. But to me, it was like comedic relief when it could have actually been a really interesting metaphor. Why? Because Clint proves that he knows the secret whistle between Natasha and Yelena, and they could have picked a bird that had more of a whistling sound to do an homage to Natasha via the animal in the tree. Slide.
Okay, so let's talk about something here. We've established that this show knows nothing about deaf culture and deaf people, and that was made ridiculously clear by the fact that they had Alaqua Cox wear gloves, because deaf people don't wear gloves. So, costuming.
Jack!
Okay.
froze.
So I have really strong feelings about Mockingbird. I'm not necessarily mad, but I just need answers right now. Like I want to like call Kevin Feige and say, break down your plan for me, because them confirming like Matt Murdock and Kingpin make me think, oh, okay, so these outer universes are going to be pulled in. But then they're like, oh, but we're just erasing the fact that there already was Mockingbird on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and a like decent portrayal of her, and now it's Linda Cardellini, but she's retired.
Kate Bishop is wearing a wig. Haley Steinfeld is wearing a wig for the entirety of this show, and I do not understand why. Wigs are fine. Wigs are great. I have a whole freaking series on my TikTok about wigs in the MCU. But why does Haley have to wear a wig? Why does she have to have black hair? I understand she has black hair in the comics. Clint has blonde hair in the comics. Jeremy Renner is not blonde. He has never been blonde in the MCU. Why does
Okay, so our female characters were really great fighters in the finale, and I was confused because they had not been consistently great fighters throughout the run of the show. Then I realized that the difference was that in the finale, when they were really good fighters, they were fighting other women. And so apparently their years of karate training only work against female opponents. They do not work against Jeremy Renner's batshit karate training we never saw. Or
So Clint knows the whistle between Natasha and Yelena, like that secret whistle that we hear in the Black Widow movie. And to me, when I first saw the owl, I was immediately disappointed because I wanted like the Hunger Games moment. Like, you know, in the Hunger Games, when all the birds do Rue's whistle and it's like the big like volunteer thing, and then there's like uprisings. Like, I wanted that, but every pigeon in New York City, okay, and they're all like the Natasha Black Widow spy pigeons conspiracy. That's what I wanted.
Okay, so I understand that, like, it's New York, whatever, it's cold. Like, deaf people live there anyways. So why did the costuming pick to have Echo wear gloves? And especially, why were they black? Why were they dark? It was nighttime. The lighting was awful. It was dark. The gloves were dark. And you couldn't see a single thing she was signing. What the fuck?
So on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Adrian Palicki plays Mockingbird, and I thought she was great. And then they took her off Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so that she could have her own show with Hunter, who was another character who was also great on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but then that pilot never got picked up. And so then therefore Mockingbird just left Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which made me sad because I'm like, I want to see this character again because they were one of my favorites in the comics. And I'm totally cool with Linda Cardellini now being Mockingbird, but if she's already retired and we don't get to see her in action at all, I'm gonna be...
Okay, so the problem for me is the wig was not necessary. The wig is the exact same haircut Haley already has. For a whole episode, I was like, that's not a wig because that's her haircut. That is her literal haircut. The bangs, the length, everything. It's just dyed black, but it's a wig. Why? Why does her hair have to be black? Why can't it just be very, very, very dark?
But anyway, it appears that years of karate knowledge Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Everybody made weird faces. Years of karate knowledge at a really suspect school to begin with, like allowed everybody to have really good fighting technique, but only against women. And that just means that they're going to be overmatched and fail anytime they face a male opponent, because what could have prepared them for fighting men except the fact
The
that the
owl
karate
is
class...
proof that the MCU does not know how to do animals justice, period. Because where was Pizza the dog in that final fight? Like, you're gonna bring in rando owl in the tree who can pick up a little tiny crushed Pym car full of real people that have been shrunk and fly away with it, but Pizza the dog can't like catch an arrow as it's been shot and like redirect it towards the bad guys or do anything helpful. I'm very upset, and I would like an apology made out to me.
So there's a few things here. First, if they needed to use gloves, that's fine. Choose a different color. Whatever. Like, I'm not gonna say, like, it's not allowed because deaf people wouldn't wear them. Because, like, whatever, fine. Some people have cold hands. That's fine. But if you do that, just have her take one off and sign one-handed. We do that all the time. That's fine. There you go.
This all comes back to like great confusion on how canon Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was, because it's like only canon downstream, it's not canon upstream, because like all these characters like respond to events that happen in the MCU, but yet apparently anything that happens in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is apparently irrelevant now, and I don't understand that, because they brought Coulson back to life just for him to not exist anymore. So like I want to see Mockingbird. She was one of my favorites, and now I just feel like they've kind of like touched the character twice and are now just kind of done with it.
So the thing that continues to baffle me is the choice. Who made the choice that Kate Bishop had to have black hair in the MCU? Like the comics, whatever. Why does she have to have black hair? Why does she have to have blue eyes? Haley doesn't have blue eyes either. She's wearing contacts this whole show. Kazi in the comics is a yeeting clown. He's a clown. Are we really dedicated to comic accuracy?
Alexis!
Oh, the only thing that could have prepared them for male opponents would have been like a karate class that had like 90% men, like all karate classes that have ever happened anywhere in the world ever. It's also very confusing to me that they seem to take karate, but no one seems to do karate. I don't really know what that's all about. Like even against other female opponents, we have all of these skills that come from different disciplines of martial arts that you would not have gained from our alleged karate classes.
So in conclusion, I think the owl was an attempt at comedic relief when it wasn't needed, because Jeremy Renner in a tree was already funny enough. Kate Bishop falling out of a building was already funny enough. There was enough humor that the owl just did not feel necessary at all. And it could have been a really cool moment to actually do something interesting and paying tribute to Natasha, and they completely fumbled the bombshell bag.
Okay, I'm going to circle back to a point that I've discussed many times on the show, which is the topic of hiring deaf people for everything. Like, obviously, it's great you have a deaf person, like, on camera. Amazing. Love that. But we still need deaf people behind the scenes, behind the camera. Hire a deaf director of photography. Hire a deaf costumer. Okay? It's not that hard. Just give us more deaf people jobs. That's all
I
I'm
recognize that they're trying to like fix the idea that Clint just has this random family that we don't know anything about, and they're like, oh no, this was Agent 19 that we know as Mockingbird, who like obviously Clint always ends up with on the cartoons or in the comics or whatnot. And so I recognize that, but this felt like a very after the fact decision of kind of like painting over that, opposed to like a well thought out like portrayal of this character that has a really interesting story themselves.
I just don't understand. It was not necessary for her to wear a wig that is so obviously a wig. It was just not needed. Haley has that exact same haircut already. Her hair is already very, very dark brown. You could perfectly understand that a comics to live action transition is black hair to extremely dark brown hair, like Jack's level dark brown hair. Why?
In conclusion, it was sexist bullshit, and they thought that we wouldn't notice, and I noticed, and they owe me a damn apology. I don't know how you get through underutilizing these women until the finale and then only let them show their skills against other women when there is an entire mafia of men there that they could have showcased their skills against. That's it. That's all I got.
I have something to add to Alexis's. Also, when they showed the one class, it was all men except for
always all men.
So why?
Absolutely. I also think it's interesting that Kate fought against like all these men when she was on the ice with Clint, and they were shooting arrows at people. But exactly, like and I also found that it was interesting that they were fighting so well, but they weren't trying to harm each other. Like it was not like intent to evict, if you know what I mean. And it was like the complimenting each other. I was like, let them actually fight with purpose, as opposed to, oh, these are going to be two besties that are like showing how good they are at fighting, and they're going to stop each other from like going to get Clint. Like it felt like a very,
well, and the
it undermined
parallel is
them.
interesting too, right? Because you have Yelena and Kate who fight each other through the hallway, and then they congratulate each other, and they're like, woohoo! And then you pan to Clint by himself, who's just completely taken a guy out, and is like, woohoo! I'm having a great time. So it's just this like weird juxtaposition of like,
you just made me think of this, but the Kate Yelena hallway fight sort of reminds me of the Nat and Clint fight in Civil War, where they're like, we're still friends after this, right? And she's like, depends on how hard you hit. Like, they're on opposite sides, but they're not actually trying to hurt each other. They're just trying to stop them, which is like fine and cute. And I liked it. I thought it was a great interaction, but it was also
Finally,
sort of
Marissa says
wasted
one
time.
thing positive about Civil War.
I
That's
also
my
find
Christmas
it funny.
gift.
I don't dislike Civil War, but it's not as good as Winter Soldier.
I don't know what that situation is about. But I will also say, like, I am not the authority on this, right? But I can say that in my, I don't know, decade plus of martial arts classes, that the people I beat up the worst are my best friends. Like, my best friends are not the people where I'm like, oh, no, wait, I'll go easy on you. Like, the people I have like choked into the floor are my best friends. So I always think that is a little weird too, because they're the people you're more comfortable with.
You're more comfortable
with my besties. I mean, like,
Just
violent.
girls being girls. Just girls being girls. Girly behavior.
This is weird.
I know.
Are you okay, Liz?
Yeah, I am having a Miley Cyrus moment, but I've since recovered.
Oh no!
And I'm a professional over here.
I understand
So we're
that.
all
so
good.
professional.
Super professional. I just won't be able to breathe the rest of the show, but that's on me.
She chose fashion over
I
function.
chose fashion over function, everybody, but it's fine because I look great. Speaking of wigs.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That was a horrible transition, but let's continue the conversation on wigs, because there was like a big wig red flag. And yes, Sly perfectly. Also, I'm really obsessed with how like Yelena's looking at you as you talk, to be like, I support everything Sly is saying this evening. I want to talk about Yelena because this hair moment from Yelena's episode was very interesting to me. It was beautiful, but it didn't make sense in comparison to her earlier hair, which does not have the volume, baby. Like, where did this braid come from? Marissa, I defer to you.
I have a theory. I don't have any in-universe explanation for you, but I have a theory. So can you pull up?
Yes.
Do you have a picture of it from the front?
Oh,
that's good. That's good. That's fine.
Okay.
So Florence Pugh has little curtain bangs because of Don't Worry, Darling, which are like pinned up in a little poof. And then what's behind it, I believe, is what starts as an extension. And then the like, I wish you could see me pointing. The like blonder pieces on the side of the braid, I think are her natural hair, but the like center top part is one big extension piece. So her hair is like braided into the extension. So it's not all her hair, but her hair is like blended into it. The weird, like one straight piece that's going down that is obviously just a single clip in really bothers me. But otherwise, I think it's either just a piece that's clipped, like one full braided piece that's clipped on top of her head, or it's a piece clipped on top that's then like her hair is pulled up and braided into. Because it would either be her hair is pulled up and braided like down the top, and then that extra like pointy piece is clipped on top of that, or it's clipped and then the rest of her hair is braided into it.
Well, being the one person here that obviously does their hair all the time.
Yes. Please speak to this. This is your space.
When I look at it, I think to myself, okay, yeah, like she's like an assassin spy. It makes sense that she would have an eclectic wig collection so that she can have different, alter egos and blend in or stick out however she needs to for different missions. What doesn't make sense is why she would choose to wear one of those in this scene.
I need to know why this was the wig that she chose to evict Clint Barton in. Like, what was it when she was going through her collection that said, this is the one?
There's a part of me that just thinks Yelena has the attitude of like, I look good in this wig, so therefore I'm going to wear it.
That's what I think. Like, I think the in-universe explanation is, I'm going to a Christmas party. I love Christmas. I want to look fancy for this Christmas party. And also, I'm about to unsubscribe the guy responsible for my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to look like a badass as I do it. Like, I don't think she is very much not concerned with looking inconspicuous in this situation. Like, she's wearing a bright green coat, dark lipstick. She's looking to be noticed.
Sly, I want you to chime in because I can hear you on the TikTok feed, but I can't hear your audio coming through here.
Sorry, I messed up my mic. It's
You're
fine.
good.
It's a fancy party. That's why.
Yeah.
She's going to a fancy party and wanted to look good. I think from what I've seen, it looked like they just used hair pieces and braided them with her natural hair. For me, I'm not, an expert, but that's what it looks like for me. Also, while we're discussing hair, can we talk about how the poof is coming back and how that traumatized so much of my childhood?
Yes, we are seeing
Why?
business casual come back in full force.
Why are we doing the ponytail with the poof? Like the bang poof. I hate it. I had to wear that like every day for like my entire life for competition.
I was gonna say it's giving dance
awful.
competition.
I don't need it to come back. Can we please stop?
It's giving,
Yelena's
like,
bringing it
it's
back.
giving intermediate jazz routine. To Black and Gold. Remember that song?
Who doesn't? Who hasn't had that experience?
Alexis, I need to ask you, with this hair, as someone trained in various fighting styles,
yeah.
let's speak to the practicality of choosing this as your eviction haircut.
Okay, so here's the thing. This sparked a lot of controversy in Black Widow because everyone was like, but you can just pull on a braid. And like, the thing is, you can just pull on anything. You can pull on my hair when it's in a ponytail. You can pull on my hair when it's in a bun. You can pull on my gi when I'm training
in a demonstration.
Yeah, like you can pull on it regardless. So like
Right.
the way, and let me preface this by saying I'm incredibly impractical. I go to the gym in a full face with the hair fully done, and I'm like, tear it out. I don't care. Like, you'll have to get to me first. So, right. So I'm probably not the person to ask, but I would say generally you just want it out of your face so that it's not like obscuring your line of vision, because when it's long, like people are going to find a handhold, if they want to find a handhold. So I say it works. It also reminds me.
Keep their hair out of their face?
I'm sorry?
You know someone who doesn't keep their hair out of their face?
Oh, segue.
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop.
How was that? Did I nail it?
You nailed it. Perfect.
Yeah.
She's going to go through
Amazing.
the effort to put her hair up in a ponytail, but she is going to have those curtain bangs. You are going to look at those Oh my God. Look, that's the wig. It's a wig.
Yeah.
And I feel like especially problematic for someone that relies on their eyesight to do their job.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you want to hear more about my opinions of Kate Bishop's wigs, you can go watch my Hair in the MCU video. Oh,
That was
sorry.
horrible. I hated that.
That's such a bad wig. You can hear more about my thoughts on Kate Bishop's wigs in my Hair in the MCU video about her. And like the majority of the comments are, I just don't understand why she didn't put all of her hair back. I'm an archer and I would not want my hair in my eyes.
Let's
Like-
also just very briefly call out the different lengths of bang and side hair that's happened. I understand when you curl your hair, it gets a little on the shorter side, but there's like some very drastic different things. Like, she go get a haircut on episode 4 that I missed.
She
And it's
quarantined her
all-
bangs.
It's all within a week. How did this?
Maybe
And
when
then-
they went to the doctor that we learned nothing about to get the
Oh,
hearing
the
aid
sketchy
fixed.
audiologist.
Yeah, maybe she also like did bangs.
Yeah.
I will say though that one of the things that I really liked about Yelena and Kate's look or found interesting is that they were both able to like instantly strip into their fight gear. And Clint Barton had to lose his suit over 3 scenes and half of New York. Like, Bestie did not come prepared. At that point, I'm like, just fight in your tux. Like, I don't know why you
Not
weren't under all
used
that.
to quick changes.
Clearly. Like, in his life as a Jason Bourne wannabe, that never came up.
And there was a lot of things that I feel like showed how Clint is not quick in this episode. Like we could go through thousands of examples from this series, but a scene that I thought was interesting. It was called out earlier by Jack, so I'll go to you first. And I want to discuss it briefly. Was when they were putting together the arrows, right, in the kitchen. And I thought that scene was like very cool because it was like, oh, we don't actually get to see like the Avengers getting ready to go do their thing all the time. It's just like, oh, all of a sudden they're there, and it's like, where did they get all this stuff from? So from that perspective, I thought it was like a really neat moment to see. But I also was like, this seems like very time consuming, and I'm not necessarily believing that they have this time to put everything together. So Jack, like, what did you think of the inclusion of that?
So there's the aspect of their relationship in that scene. And then there's the aspect of what that scene's about, which is prepping all of these trick arrows. And I think they were trying to tie that all together, and it did not work. Like, I think there's some idea of like trying to mix there are no more trick arrows. We can't have any more trick arrows, and you're not my partner. And then in this scene being like, we can just make more trick arrows, and you're my partner. And I'm just like, so you just changed your mind over the course of 2 hours of television is really all that's happened. Because we didn't see anything happen that would have changed either of those stances. We haven't seen some big event that made him go. I mean, like, we've seen her help him in ways, and he's helped her and whatnot. But they were doing that at the point that he said, we're not partners. Like, there was no moment, there was no turning point in their character development and their relationship with one another to make us go, yeah, I get it now. I understand why he would want to stick around her, or why she would want to continue to follow him. And then the same with the trick arrows of being like, no more trick arrows. I don't have trick arrows. That's not a thing. And then being like, we'll just make more trick arrows. It's not like, oh, I found my briefcase of arrow tips in the attic, therefore we can make trick arrows. Like, anything as stupid as that would have done it for me. But it was just like, they just changed their mind, and we didn't know why, and we were just supposed to go along with it. And I'm all for like suspension of disbelief to a certain extent, but there was just way too much of that in this episode and this series of just like, don't worry about it, it'll be fun. And I'm like, okay, but like, how many times are you going to tell me not to worry about it? Not literally.
I do feel like we needed one more episode, like between the finale and the second last episode, just to talk about all, like, it felt to me like every single relationship in the show was missing exactly what you just described. There was not one relationship to me that made sense by the finale. I didn't understand why Grills was so ready to have everyone back in his apartment. I didn't understand why the LARPers were showing up at the Christmas party so eagerly, like, other than the fact that they would kiss an Avenger's ass. Like, that was the only justification we ever got for that. I didn't understand why, like, Pizza the dog got dropped off the face of the earth like, and was even included in this show by the end of it. It made no sense to me.
I wanted nothing more. I wanted two things from this episode that I did not get. We'll get to the second one later, but I wanted nothing more than a moment where Lucky was anointed with the name Lucky. And all we got was the dog getting out of the car with Kate and her being like, come on, Lucky. I'm like,
I'm still calling it Pizza the dog. Its name is Lucky. I missed that entirely.
I have been confused by your Pizza the dog
I've been
situation.
calling this dog
It's
Pizza since episode 1.
Kate has been, no, Liz has been calling this dog
It is Pizza the dog to
No,
me.
it's Pizza
Lucky.
Dog.
Oh, Pizza
Love
dog. Thank you.
Pizza
Pizza dog.
Okay, well, I stand corrected and I take that, but I will still not call that dog Lucky. It is Pizza
But-
the dog to me. That is
On
my
that note-
universe. Yeah.
On that note, what I wanted was one shot from Lucky's perspective. That's it. It didn't need to be a full like episode, whatever. That comic is my favorite. I'll say that. But I just needed one perspective from Lucky.
GoPro
That's
on
it.
Lucky's head.
Please.
That would have been a cute way to start
It
an
was so
episode.
cute.
Like
Or
a
was
cold
it-
open from Lucky's perspective, that would have been really cute.
Yeah.
When they were sitting in the diner and they had that horrible back and forth camera, if it had been the dog looking back and forth, oh, that would have been cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
Can I say one thing about the arrows?
Yeah.
The montage.
Yeah.
Like, within the game of the show, like the structure they're sort of following of like an action Christmas movie, like it makes sense, but that like montage was so heavily teased in every like trailer, every teaser, everything. I was like, when are they gonna make the trick arrows? When are they? Because like the shot of Clint like with a blowtorch or whatever was in every single trailer, and like I was just
interesting.
like, when is it gonna happen? And then it finally happened, and I was like, what was the payoff of that?
So I
Because
actually,
you're right. In the episode before that, we got, well, we don't have any more trick arrows. We have to go steal them back.
Alexis?
No, I actually kind of had an issue with the trick arrows in the finale because I think the thing, like there are kind of two ways that the trick arrows are a part of the story, right? Like one is that like we use trick arrows in television to call back to like really random shit that happened in comics that like eventually got updated and forgotten, right? Arrow has done that as well. But like a trick arrow's purpose is generally to take down multiple opponents at once, like to be more effective or to be less lethal. Which is what we got from the arrows the first time, the trick arrows that were shot for shot from the comic. It's not what we got from the trick arrows in the finale, where we were like fleecing people left and right with darts
Way
and
too
putting them in
dangerous.
like in owl cars. I was like, what? Like these are incredibly lethal and really not effective arrows. Like we're still having to shoot these people down like 3 by 3. But we're just doing it in a really, like, almost gruesome way. Like, I don't want to see these people become pincushions.
Here's a question. Here's a question for everyone here who would remember this better than I do. Did Clint ever meet Yondu from Guardians? I think the answer is no.
I don't know.
Because
I don't think Yondu's ever been to Earth.
He's figured out the arrow with his whistle, and then it just goes to everybody immediately. So, like, where is the variant of Clint that got Yondu's arrow? Like, that's a way more effective Hawkeye than any of what we saw in this show. Am I wrong? Also,
You're not wrong.
that would be a much better haircut on Clint to give him that thing. Like, put that on Clint's
Rather
head.
than the sleepy, rainy mohawk we went through in Endgame.
Yes.
Where it just like flops to the side.
Yeah, the, like,
Yeah.
He turns around and it's just like half a toupee.
Maybe that's the Guardians holiday special coming this Christmas. Like this year we had Hawkeye as like our marketed as a Christmas thing, and then we have the holidays one coming this 2022. So perhaps Yondu's arrow is going to make its way to Clint Barton. It feels like a stretch, but I feel like it'd be very effective if it were to happen.
I also didn't understand how Kate knew exactly what she was shooting. Like I understand
She labeled
Clint.
them. We watched
She
her
did.
label.
I know that she labeled them, but she didn't turn around and look at what each of them was before she
Marissa,
loaded.
She obviously memorized each of them and then their respective place in her quiver and just knew by feel which one was which. Makes
I
perfect
assumed
sense.
the labels were in
Feel the
Braille.
label.
They
and
might have
she-
been,
It
honestly.
wasn't.
They
It
were
wasn't
like
Braille,
raised,
but they were raised,
Raised.
so you could like feel like what they're saying. But
Yeah,
like,
no,
I do
I
think
think
though,
it
in the
was, like,
heat of
the
the
label.
moment, there is no way in hell that I would be able.
No.
with thousands of people in matching sweatsuits coming towards me on Christmas Eve on an ice rink, that I would be able to. Yes, this one that I made in the lab earlier today. Like that is just not a thought process I would have.
I have another big issue with that big fight scene,
Pop
and
off,
that is
Jack.
the location of it, the positioning location of it. I get it's very cool to do it on the ice rink, like right in front of the giant Christmas tree, awesome. But the fact that the two people that are shooting arrows are inside on the lower level, and everyone else is above them, rushing down, makes no sense.
That's a very good point.
They should have the high ground. And like Clint is not an idiot. He would know that almost immediately. And they had that like little like back and forth when like, oh, get ready, here they come. Like he should have been like, oh, they're coming. This is the worst possible place for us to be standing and fighting right now. Let's go anywhere else. And instead they're like, let's just stand
Let's
here and
just
wait.
stay here.
Yeah.
I did
and
have a thought. If I can just jump in
thought-
very quickly, I
Yeah.
really wanted Clint to scale to the very top of the tree
Yeah.
and shoot
Yeah.
from. That would have been cool as heck if he was the star on the tree shooting down at people,
Yeah.
and Kate had stayed high in the building. But instead, as soon as they were both on ground level, I was like, that was a choice.
Right.
Also, like the show is supposed to be this like growth of Kate and Clint's partnership and like the evolution of their communication. They have never communicated. He's like, don't shoot the tree down. And she's like, I'm doing it. Here it comes.
Yeah.
Terrible
I
idea.
gotta say-
Also, can I just say one
Go
thing
for it.
about the ice rink?
Hmm.
Did anybody slip and slide at all?
They
Oh, I
did the knee slide, which I actually
Which
don't
is
think would've been-
fun.
Yeah.
But you can't run on ice. As a lifelong figure skater, you can't just run across an ice rink.
Slide.
I just wanted to add about the tree. I say there's a lot of like misunderstanding with deaf culture here in the show, but that was a sick deaf reference with the timber, and I will not explain. So if you know, you know.
Perfectly
Great.
said. Perfectly said. There's a lot that we haven't talked about, obviously. We're entering our second hour of the show, which is where things always get more chaotic, and we have a lot more to talk about. So let's enter our next game. of the
Oh,
episode.
yes.
We love a game.
do.
And for those of you that have been patiently awaiting our Alpine game, it is finally here. And I'm speaking directly to Alexis when I say that. We are going to just quickly go through a list of all the characters that we saw in Hawkeye. And we're going to be rating them on a scale of 1 to 5 Alpines. And notice
These
that you
look like Wakandan alpines. I am very pleased by this development. Fanfic incoming.
Yes. So I've done my best using the limited emojis available to me. We're going to be going through, and I invite everybody watching, let us know in the comments what you would rate these characters. And in terms of like what we're rating, it's anything we want. There can be no base to your rating, or it can be as deep as you would like, but you have to be brief. Like we're talking less than 10 words in your justification. Perhaps longer if you have something particularly spicy to say. However, does that make
I'm
sense
going
to everyone?
Fully based on vibes.
Yeah.
So here's a
5,
question
yeah.
Based off the answer that you just asked, or like the answer you just gave, right? So am I rating this on how I feel about the character as a character, or about their portrayal and arc in the show?
Up to you.
Up to
Yeah,
you.
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
That's what I
up
thought
to
you were gonna say.
Betsy.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
cool, cool,
absolutely.
cool, 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 cool.
Purely on vibes.
You can also you can change it up. You could do a vibe
boy.
for one
Right.
person. You could be more deep about another character. It could be just about wigs the whole way through if that's your preference. Is your guys' TikTok live okay? It seems like something's happening. over there.
Alexis keeps leaving, but then she comes right back. I don't know.
Oh.
And sometimes she's still co-hosting, and sometimes she's not. I'm sorry, everybody over here. Please join us on YouTube and Twitch so you can see
There you
everything and
go.
not just us smiling and nodding for a while Liz and Sly are
And
talking.
this is a very
Yes.
unflattering angle of me too. So I like
Well,
It's always the best angles on TikTok. Come over to YouTube and hang out with all 5 of us, everyone. Okay, so we're gonna go through the list of characters. First up is the wondrous, miraculous Maya /
Stunning.
Echo. Alexis, I'm gonna let you take this one first.
5 alpines. Do I have to explain?
You don't have
Um,
to.
I mean, Maya is wonderful. I don't know what there is. There are no negative thoughts about Maya. She's gorgeous and she's capable and she's deaf and she's perfect. I don't.
Great. Marissa.
can we give half alpines?
Yes, but I can't do an emoji for that. So,
Okay.
so don't make my life harder. Just pick a full number. It's not that deep.
Okay.
Unless you want it to be.
I always like to be complicated, but it's fine.
I'm
Is
not
it my
like other
turn?
girls. Marissa's
No.
not like other girls. Okay, Marissa, go for it.
Okay. 4 alpines. She was underused. I love her. I'm so happy for the deaf rep. Alekwa Cox is amazing. Fellow Midwest girly. But she was underused. And at times, not necessary to the story.
Jack?
I would also say 4, for very similar reasons. My other and I think going off what Marissa said, because there's just way too many characters and way too short of time is really what it is. Like this would have been great as a 26 episode season, which never would have happened. But and also I'm not quite positive what's coming next for her. Like I'm excited for her show. I look forward to watching it. I feel like this was supposed to be a tease for her show. And I don't I know her relationship with Kingpin, but they almost close that. There's no way he's dead. That's another hot take, but I'm giving way too many words.
Okay,
But yeah,
I'm
I also
enjoying
say
them.
4. I also say 4.
4.
And I also should really quickly add, not related to the game, this is a very poor representation of our relationship as brother and sister because we do not agree as much as we are agreeing on this show right now.
Well,
which
it's
is
a
really
long
confusing.
list of characters. So, there we go.
See, now I'm going to disagree that we don't agree. We don't agree on a lot in the MCU, but in general in life, we have a lot of the same opinions just based on
That's fair.
our media that we were raised on
Yeah.
together. We have similar taste in things.
What was it? PBS and what was your
We were
brand was?
exclusively raised on PBS, Disney Channel,
And Food Network. Food Network.
Beautiful. What a context to come
And
to the
CBC
MCU
Kids,
with.
Liz, and
We
CBC
should do a
Kids.
I
Stark
was about
Radio.
to say you're missing one.
We should do a Stark Radio and Ace of Cakes.
Okay, Sly. Echo. What are
I'm
you
gonna
feeling?
break the scale with the first one. I'm giving her 10.
Okay, I'll just
Copy paste, baby.
yeah. You say 10.
Amazing. It's just her performance, her sass, her facial expressions, just everything was amazing. And I love Echo. I love this character. Perfect.
It's a 5 for me too. I think she deserves more, and I hope that she gets more in the upcoming series. Show-stopping, brilliant, never seen before, amazing, Lady Gaga meme-worthy performance. Next up on our list is the man who got evicted.
Oh
Why?
no.
Would you like to begin?
Me?
Because I know you had feelings
Um,
about this one.
I have so many feelings about Kazi. I'm giving him
Oh, sorry,
a 4
Alexis was stressed.
because he didn't sing. And if we saw him sing, it would be a 5, but he didn't. So 4.
Jack?
Here comes my hot take. 2.5, 2. I don't care about Kazi. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know. She was always obsessed with it.
Love of my
And
life.
I'm like, okay, like he's just some like sidekick. I don't know.
Jack, but Jack also doesn't really care about Bucky.
Well, okay.
No, I definitely care about Bucky more than I care about Kazi.
Before we kick Jack off the show, because those words are not allowed to be said on my Stark Radio, I'm going to side with you. I also give him 2 cats, 2 Alpines out of 5. So I don't want you to be alone in this opinion.
Liz wasn't
on the train.
I'm gonna mute you.
Is it my turn yet?
No, I'm
Yes.
gonna justify our team 2 Alpines. He's a man.
Mm.
Okay. Fine. He's
Yeah,
the man.
I would say ultimately his behaviors can be explained by man.
A threatened man.
Mhm.
He was threatened and made that very clear in the finale. Marissa, now it's your turn.
Okay. See, I wish I could give half Alpines. I would give like 3.5 Alpines.
Okay, Marissa, would you give a half
You all are
Alpine in
all
real
unalive
life?
for me.
No, I would not give a half Alpine in real life.
Okay,
I'm not a
so-
monster. in real life, I would give him 4. But his actions in the last episode just that last scene with Echo really hurt my
So
feelings.
he's the same as Echo.
No, he's not. He's lower than that.
But he's not. You gave him the same score.
No, but it's different criteria. This is
Yeah,
based
remember
on
the criteria
Kazi's
is not the same
this is
for any
based
of
on
these
Kazi's
rankings.
behavior. My Echo ranking was based on her writing and
Okay.
utilization in the show.
Yeah,
I
makes-
can change my
makes so
criteria
much sense.
every
Absolutely.
semester.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Alexis, you're next.
Well, he's a dark-haired man who speaks more than one language, and he unalives people. Thus, he
Mhm.
gets 5 Alpines.
Yeah.
And in the shocking twist that everybody saw coming, Alexis gives him 5 Alpines. Okay, a split review for that one. Third is Girly Pop of the Year, Kate Bishop. Marissa, I'm gonna let you start this one.
I want to give her 5, but I don't know that she deserves it. No, I'm gonna save my 5. 4.
Okay.
4. Because she is ultimately a spoiled rich white girl, which maybe I relate to too much, but she's
Speak your
just
truth.
a little too whiny.
Jack?
Yeah, I'd also give her a 4, but for different reasons. I really like her. I'm excited to see more of her. I think Haley did great. I think it was a really solid portrayal and like Young Avengers, hopefully. But my thing is like I did not understand her want as a character. I don't think it was well established. I think they did it in this like cold open of the first episode, and then they steered away from it for like 40 minutes. And then they come back and they say, oh yeah, remember that one little scene when she like watched Hawkeye out her window? That's like her entire like personality.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? So the whole show, I kept struggling to get behind her motivation as character.
Right on.
That's why, but everything about her was great. It just was like her drive that I just wasn't there for.
Absolutely.
All of those words
Thanks.
go into mine too.
Alexis? Come on.
I
Do
guess I give her 4 Alpines.
Begrudgingly.
Yeah, because it's not that I don't like Kate or that I don't like Haley's portrayal of Kate. It's that I don't like what this show did with Kate. So that's kind of a...
Yeah.
Because I don't think this show did her any favors. Like, she didn't get the mantle. She
Mhm.
didn't really get to show herself. It wasn't her show. So it was just kind of...
We didn't talk about my least favorite part from the episode, which was all the different bullshit names.
How
Oh,
about
yeah.
title card?
Yeah.
Yep. Slide. What do you rate Kate Bishop?
I'm giving her a 3.
Speak your
Not
truth.
enough by boyfriends. That's it. That's all I have to say.
For me, Kate started at a 5. Like episode 1, I was excited. And then I very quickly realized that I just really like Haley's performance. Like Haley is extraordinary. I think she brought a ton of depth to Kate that the script did not provide. I have not seen the script. I have no base for saying that. But the things that I like about Kate were what I think Haley inserted into Kate. So I'm also on the 3 Alpine train, but I have much hope for where Kate will go. Hopefully. I won't regret those words. Next, moving on to
Woman. Write a woman. Write her.
So we're gonna speed through a couple of these before we hit some more of the main characters. Let's talk about Grills. For me, Grills was a solid 5. I want more. I think his Instagram video that Clint saw was very, very funny. I liked it. I think he's got good energy. I would like to see him return and do something. Slide.
Do something. I'm giving him, I guess, a 4. He was there. He was great. He didn't do anything. So I'm gonna say 4. He was
Jack?
cool.
Marissa, we got a show to do.
I had to talk to Jack's girlfriend for a second. 3.
Well, Jack, I was asking you to go next,
Okay.
so your
No, I
sister
know,
very
but she
rudely cut
was
you off.
doing things. It's all
Sorry.
good. It's normal. I'm used to it. I would give a 3 as well, but I think for a different reason. For me, I didn't even realize that Grills was Grills. And what I mean by that is like Grills, I'm sure Alexis knows what I'm talking about. Grills in the comics is like a completely different character. And so I just feel like they just wrote this character and they were like, oh, we'll call him Grills.
Just give him a name.
Yeah, and I'm just like, just why? Just make a new character. Like, he's not Grills, so just make it, and that would have been fine. Like, he could have just been like Peter or whatever. Like, that would have been fine. So I liked the character. I'm confused about calling him, like, him being Grills. It just doesn't work for me. So that's why.
Alexis?
I give him 3 Alpines for subpar theft.
That's me too. Alexis is going to explain my reasoning.
Oh, that's all I was going to say.
Great.
Because he's a
all
first
we need.
responder that steals things and then kind of advertises that he stole them. And like, you can either steal them and be good at it, or you cannot steal them. But stealing them badly crosses a fundamental line for me.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sly.
I changed my rating. I'm giving him a 3.
It's not
You
even like it
convinced
was.
me.
It's not like it was an abandoned building. Like, Kate was
was bad
actively living
stealing.
there, and it was straight up just theft. She just stole belongings from the fire.
Very true.
Badly.
And that question was never answered either. And all of a sudden, they were all besties, no issue.
And all thieves! Multiple thieves.
I
All the
love
first
seeing
responders
everyone's
are
ratings
criminals.
come in. Keep your ratings coming in the comments. They're great. We're gonna keep going. The dog. How many Alpines would you give the dog? Of many names, apparently, according to this episode. For me, a 1. I loved the dog. So underused. To me, it took having the dog in the show took up space that was never like justified, and the comedy was not even close to the right comedy for the show or the comedy I even cared about. So unfortunately, a 1 for me. Marissa? Marissa, hello? Do you have a rating? It cut off for me, like your video froze.
5.
Wow.
5. It would be a 10 if Fanny was there and they could be best friends. Fanny is my Alpine. I think we've established Fanny is Yelena's dog. We meet her in the end credits of Black Widow. And it's really rude of her mother to go on her first trip to New York and not bring her dog. All I wanted was for Lucky and Fanny to become best friends, and it didn't happen. But yet, thank you. Yelena and Kate have a blossoming friendship, and their dogs will meet. They will meet, Kevin.
Jack, would you like to cut your sister off?
Yeah, sure. I'll give him a 3 for very similar reasons as Liz. I think he essentially was a glorified cameo and therefore should have been one. Like just put him in a scene because he served no purpose. But he's a dog and you love him, you know? But he served no purpose.
No, I argue he did serve a purpose because Kate saving him from traffic gave Kate points with Yelena.
Yeah, that was great. And then he should have been done.
But also revealed the Ronin suit.
Right. No.
Like,
that
everything
scene
got messed up because of that.
I think that scene was fine. But then, like, we didn't need this ongoing arc that led nowhere.
I'm just trying to establish myself as a dog person and not a cat person.
Listen, that's why I gave him a 3, not a, because I agree with Liz's reasoning, but he's an adorable dog. So I'm not going to give him a 1. I'm not cruel.
We're a dog family.
Well, that means that I'm cruel.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you literally said I'm not cruel. So let's
Listen,
go to our resident
I've been
cat
waiting
person.
to use this flag for a long time, so I can wave it now. I thought it was going to happen way more between the two of us. It's just sitting on Marissa's desk.
There's still so much show left to go. It's going to come. Don't worry. Alexis, what's your rating? We got to be speedy. This game's taking a long time.
I give him 3 Alpines because he was underutilized, and it's also not fair that they got their damn dog and Bucky didn't get Alpine.
That's the right opinion. Sly?
I'm waffling between 1 and 2. So 1.5, I guess.
Stop cutting Alpine in half. You people are sadists.
I just I understand establishing the relationship with the comic story. I understand establishing the story moving forward. It took up way too much time and did not give anything back. So
listen, all of these are great reasons. Still a cute dog.
True.
Still deserving of 5.
Okay, let's talk about Jack. Who wants to start with Jack?
I hate that they tried to make me like him.
I'm gonna give Jack a 4. For me, I did not like Jack. However, I really like the way that Jack was used in the finale. To me, I was on my couch very genuinely laughing very hard when Jack did his whole bit in the finale. I thought it was just it was giving Himbo Thor energy to me. And it felt very refreshing. So for that, I would give a 4. Which also, I want to add, if anyone watched the What If After Party series, I did not like Himbo Thor in our episode about that episode. And since I feel like my opinion has changed and that Himbo Thor has become very close to my heart.
Speaking of the What If episode, speaking of the What If After Party, intern of the week has to go to Weird Flex, but okay.
It's weird flex, but sure.
Oh, that's even worse.
Exactly. It's such a dad thing to say.
Yep.
Okay,
Alexis.
Oh, he gets 3 Alpines for me because I was not won over by Jack's charm like everyone else was. I understand that the narrative purpose was to throw comic book fans off their game, blah, blah, blah. But you didn't introduce anything better to make it worth it. So I don't care. I don't understand. Everyone's like, oh, sorry, Jack. You just have bad taste in women. And I'm like, so what? So does everybody. I just don't. I don't. Sorry. 3. He gets 3 swishy Alpines.
I'm giving him 3. I would say 3.5, but I don't want to cut Alpine in half. So he gets 3. He loses points because he bullied a kid.
I forgot about that. I take him down a notch of whatever I said. I don't endorse that. Yep. Jack.
I give him a 3 for the exact opposite reasons of Liz, which is like awkward. But it's because
Where's your flag? Where's your flag?
Yeah, my agree to disagree flag. Because I enjoyed watching him. I thought he was like very captivating on screen. I think that's a lot of just like the betrayal. I thought whatever was going on with him in the last episode came so out of left field and was so unjustified, again, like all my problems with this show, that I'm just like, what? Oh, I mean, okay, cool. What? I think especially because he's the swordsman, maybe supposed to be, possibly not at all what the swordsman like was originally. Which, and again, I don't have a problem with him adapting character. I mean, that's one of the things that I think Marvel's excelled at, is like taking characters and putting them in this modern, more realistic world. But especially in this show, they just slap names on characters that aren't anything about what, I don't know. And so I liked watching him on screen, but I was really confused about where he was at the end of the series.
It's fair. Marissa?
I'm going to give Jack Duquesne 2 Alpines. Because as Alexis and I have been saying for weeks, he's not on this show. I don't know what show he's on, but it's not
Flash.
Hawkeye.
He's on Flash, and he got confused and stumbled over this way.
And he didn't fit anywhere. And maybe that's what they were going for, but it didn't work. And I don't care to apologize to him. A lot of people on TikTok are saying, we owe Jack Duquesne an apology. We thought he was a bad guy, and he's just a fun guy who wants to be a good stepdad. I don't care.
I really fast just want to interject to say that Alexa said something that just like popped off something in my head that she might have said before. But this, like Hawkeye, this show, this MCU show, is the most CW Marvel piece project ever made. Like I'm like, I never thought of it until you said like he belongs on Flash. Like this series is the most, like I watched all the CW shows. I was like religious about it. And yeah.
You're welcome. It haunts me nightly, so I hope it haunts you.
He's
the
also
same
talked
way.
about Arrow a lot.
Oh, Arrow was my favorite show for so long.
My cats are named after that show.
Nice.
Okay, let's do 2 more characters / maybe 3. Very quickly, let's talk about Laura Barton. I give Laura, and we're talking
give her a 0.
Laura, I'm gonna give her a 2. And you know why? Because women deserve more. So I'm giving her 1 more Alpine than what I actually want to rate her. And I don't think it's Laura's fault that Laura gets a 2. I think Laura did everything she possibly could while dealing with all this BS. And somehow her kids were not crying on Christmas morning. So 2 very generous Alpines from me. Alexis, you look very opinionated.
I give Laura 0 Alpines because while I do not disagree with you, I cannot. So that is where we're at.
Marissa.
You're muted again.
No, she just said
No, I just haven't said anything.
Oh.
I'm just
Thank you, Jack.
I'm just thinking.
I'm sorry.
This happens a lot.
Her mouth was moving and no
I
text
just-
was happening.
I
I
also
don't-
thought she was muted. Don't worry.
Okay, you think about it. I'll go.
I don't have any words.
I'm going to give Laura 3 because I hear where you're all coming from here, right? But it's Linda Cardellini, you know. So it's like, how do you
I
look
said we're
at her?
not rating Linda
I
Cardellini.
don't
Linda
care that,
Cardellini
you
gets
know?
5 Alpines all the time.
Just-
That's like
Here's
the
the thing. Here's
foundation
the
of
thing.
our show.
There are things that she said that I thought were a really good point. When she's like, "Why are you? If you're we both know you're not calling me to ask for permission." I thought that line was great because that like told us so much about their relationship and their past. And despite my rant, I'm very interested in where they're going with this whole Mockingbird Agent 19 thing because if they don't have a plan, I'll riot, but they definitely do. Like, there's no way that they don't. They're not. I'm going to be shocked if they don't. And so I'm interested. But I had a lot of issues with the main one being she's never in the same room as him.
Yep.
Well, I guess maybe in the very last scene.
I don't think that was her though. I think that was a body
like
double,
a
and
stand-in?
they
I don't know.
did separate
maybe
coverage.
maybe it was like a scheduling thing. I don't know, but I don't know. I don't think she deserves the 0s and 2s that you guys are giving her, but she wasn't great. I don't know. Maybe you know what? I'll give her a 2.
Agree to disagree with their little play. We all
but
need those
I'm
for
taking it
next
down to a
season.
2. Yeah, okay, I'll take it.
Okay. It's recorded. It's on record. Marissa.
I'm gonna give her a 1 because when she was finally announced to be a part of the series, which was very late in the game, like not even in the first trailer, wasn't even sure she was going to be a part of it. I wrote a tweet that said, I don't know if I should be excited or concerned for Linda Cardellini and Hawkeye, because is she going to be anything more than concerned wife and mother?
Mm-hmm. It was a good tweet.
And not really. She isn't. She wasn't. Like, she was the man in the chair for some reason, which I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't. I wanted more, and I also wanted less.
Sly, more or less?
I wanted to give her a 0, but you make a good point. Women deserve better, so I'll give her a 1. Bob, my love, my life, amazing. I'm so sad that they're trying to mess up that. So
They were like, this is what you have, and now we will give you Joanna Gaines as Mockingbird. And I will never understand that choice.
What I want to
Khaki
happen,
skirt.
not that we're going into this, but what I want to happen is that she was like the original Agent 19, but then her mantle has been passed down to someone else, and they're now going to be Mockingbird. But that pisses me off because that should be Adrian Palicki. So that just gets confusing too.
Every video of her is talking about how much she loves that character and how much she would love to go back to that character. If they do something tying like Linda Cardellini with her, I'm fine with it. I will retract all of my comments.
Yeah.
But if they replace her, I'm done.
No, I'm with you. And Adrian Palicki's portrayal was really solid. I thought she was great. Ironically, she's now on the Orville, which is the show that I work on. So I don't even know.
So
what
you
her
can tell her directly how
I
many
definitely cannot. I sit on my computer and make CGI spaceships. But
CGI didn't do like a little airplane, writing a message in the sky. You can do that, right? Yeah. I'm kidding. He's not going to do that for all legal purposes. That's not happening. It is a joke. It's a parody show. It's a comedy show.
Not endorse this.
We do not endorse dealing into people's jobs. Okay. We're going to move into our last rating, which is the queen on Sly's screen. Not Sly, Yelena.
Okay, I feel like we have to do Kingpin really fast, though.
We're going to get to Kingpin. Kingpin's like a whole other conversation I want to have. So Sly, I'm going to let you start with Yelena.
5, easily.
5 Alpines. 5 Alpines from Alexis. 5 Alpines from Marissa. Jack? 5 Alpines and 5 Alpines from myself as well. I would be shocked if we ever gave Yelena less than 5 Alpines. And I hope those words don't come back to haunt me. So with that, and it's been so fun to see everyone's ratings coming in. Thank you so much for everyone who's hanging out with us, participating tonight. I do want to talk about Kingpin. Everyone's talking about the most infamous role in show business, which is if you don't see them evicted on the screen, chances are they have not been evicted. So we're not going to have that conversation because it's been overdone. I do want to ask how everyone is feeling about the way Kingpin was represented, the way he was scripted in this show, the way that they used him to advance or not advance plot. Because I think it was a very interesting in the episode before the finale, it was a very interesting cliffhanger and edge to make us want to tune into the finale. And then how I felt at the end was very different. So Jack, I'm gonna let you
Is this dramatic effect? What are you doing?
I'm leaving because I have not watched Daredevil,
Oh,
and this is
yeah,
a conversation between
very
you and
embarrassing.
Sly and no one else.
It is.
Yeah.
I have so
listen,
many feelings.
Vince is like the man to play Kingpin, and if they would have
Mhm.
recasted him, it wouldn't have worked. The only other version of Kingpin that can exist is the cartoon one that is literally 7 times the size of any normal human.
I disagree.
Oh, okay. Well, what are you gonna say? What was his face from
My
the Daredevil
favorite
movie with Ben
Kingpin
Affleck?
is 2003. He's amazing.
That's a
From the
hot take.
movie with the playground fight.
Yeah, that's what Sly is referring to. That's a hot take.
Great Kingpin.
Okay.
It's amazing.
There was nothing
My
amazing about
favorite.
that film.
Okay,
Wait,
save the argument on that because we will use
Save
that
it for
in
the
a
Anyway.
future university
episode
episode.
of Daredevil 2003.
I think Vince is awesome. I felt like something was a little flat. And I don't think it was him. I don't know if it was the dialogue or just like there was just like so much hype about it going in. And then I just every time I watch it, whenever he comes on screen in Daredevil, you're just like, whoa. And I didn't feel that in Hawkeye. Maybe it was just the same problem as all of the other issues of just not having enough time to adequately because I definitely feel like there was no character development for him whatsoever. It was like, if you read the comics or you watch Daredevil, you know who this character is and go with it. If not, sorry. I don't know. You can talk to that more because you didn't watch Daredevil. So I had the background of him, but I kept being like, they haven't established anything about who this person is. So I know who he is, so it's okay. And also, I am not one to talk about wardrobe or hair at all. I whenever you guys go into it, I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here and listen and nod. It's cool. But what was he wearing? That was one of the first times that I thought to myself, what?
That shirt
Because
was
On Christmas Eve.
A Hawaiian shirt.
and that for his wardrobe alone, it makes me think maybe they're not the same universe. Maybe they're trying to do a multiverse, but then I have questions about that because from Spider-Man, spoilers, but I hope you've all seen it. I know you've seen it, but anyways. They've established that other versions of characters in other universes, multiverses do not look the same. So if they're oh, he's another version of Kingpin from another multiverse, I would be confused at why they look the same because they've already established that that's not how it works. But Kingpin in the Daredevil shows would never wear whatever he was wearing. So
It was supposed to be a reference to the Family Business comic, but to Kingpin's wardrobe in that. They said that they took it as a direct reference to that. But I think part of the issue, for me, having watched Daredevil, was the tonal difference. Him trying to fit the tone of Hawkeye when I was used to seeing him on Daredevil, where he was very gritty and scary, and then to see him in Hawkeye when he's almost comedic and flash was it's the big over the top punching, the throwing of people seemed that threw me off. So I think that having the Family Business shirt reference with that tonal shift was just kind of too much. It just didn't.
It felt Jack Nicholson Joker.
Yes, agreed.
As someone who has not seen Daredevil, from Hawkeye, did not understand why he was supposed to be this big, bad, scary person. Because I think it's the tone of the show was extremely different, and he didn't really fit with that. And then you're also trying to understand how he relates to Eleanor and the tracksuits and Maya and Maya's dad and Kazi. And I honestly was why is Kazi scared of him? I'm not scared of this person. What? So I think part of my frustration with Kazi's choices in episode 6 were I didn't really care about his motivation because I didn't believe that that Kingpin was actually bad to Kazi personally. Like, I understand what could do to Eleanor, sort of, because they show us that. But, like, just being told, like, this is a mob boss and he's big and scary while he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, like, standing next to children's toys or like, rocking horses was a whole different vibe, a tone that I didn't think worked for the, like, I don't know, the vibe they were trying to give off within that relationship.
To me, it goes into the bigger point of, like, what was the vibe of this show supposed to be? There was like 10. There was 10 different things happening simultaneously, all of which can fall under the major theme of trying to set up things to come, right? Trying to set up Kate, trying to set up the Echo Show, trying to set up what Clint is going to be in phase 4, trying to set up, like, all these different people, these new characters, old characters, new villains, like so much different stuff was happening. And to me, Kingpin felt like an if you know villain for people who know Kingpin. But really, it just felt like, oh, for this to make sense in Maya's journey, let's shove him into Hawkeye, but just in the finale to give people enough that they'll go watch Echo and have some sense of that journey. Which to me, it's like, why call the show Hawkeye at all? Because, like, none of that, like, that entire Maya Kingpin tracksuits bit, to me, it was like watching a whole other show, the entirety of the series. And I don't know what the more accurate name for the show could have been. Obviously, like, you call it Hawkeye for marketing and to get people to come in and watch, like, whatever else. But in terms of trying to find a fitting name, to me, this was not the Hawkeye show at all. And the whole Kingpin thing was just proof that it was a medium to get a whole bunch of world building done so other projects can go succeed, as opposed to making a project that made sense and could succeed.
I think, interestingly, for me, the only tonal choice, I guess, that was consistent was Clint and Yelena. Like, I understood from the beginning that Clint was still mourning Natasha. He was still, like, grappling with that choice, that, event. And it was a through line through every episode. We heard about Natasha or we saw Yelena, and that interaction in episode 6 felt like it had payoff.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that I was like, I understand from point A to point Z why this all happened. Everything else felt like it was sort of built around that, even though that's not even how the show was written. Yelena was added much later. Yeah. Like, and which is unfortunate because they really needed Yelena, I think, for an audience draw, for a emotional, like, through line for the show. But she took up so much time that we lost the tracksuits, we lost Maya, we lost Eleanor and Kate's relationship. We lost so much for the sake of this relationship of Clint and Yelena, which I think, like I said, had a great payoff, but it took away from, like, what the initial idea of the show was supposed to be.
I think it's interesting you bring that up because I wonder, and I don't know totally what it looks like in Marvel's process behind the scenes, but I wonder if the original script for this series was written very differently than what we finally got, in the sense of, like, it was much more like Kate and Clint focused, and then when they planned all these new projects, they're like, we need to introduce all these people. Oh, just throw it in Hawkeye. And because they wanted to stick to 6 episodes, they just started pulling out story beats and putting in these new characters. Yeah. I don't know. That's a total, like, theory, but it would kind of explain.
But it matches what we saw.
Yeah,
completely.
Yeah, because this is, again, like, deviating a little bit from the conversation. But what I really wish would have, like, this show would have been, and the Black Widow movie would have been.
Oh, I talked about this a little bit, but you can clarify, because I don't think I explained it right.
Because we've talked about this before. Is I wish that the movie was Hawkeye and the Black Widow, and it was about Clint and Natasha. And it could be like both like flashback to Budapest, which they've referenced forever, and we now clearly know we will never see. And I would love to see the movie of Natasha going to like kill Clint and then making the other call, because they talk about that all the time. It's like, oh, she was sent to kill me and she made a different choice. I would love to see that on screen.
He was sent to.
He was sent.
Oh, he was sent to. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah,
We're with you. We're with you. Yeah.
We can't say the K word on.
Unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Them. Okay.
Yeah. Unsubscribe from life.
And then I wish this series would have been about Yelena and Kate than trying to fill their shoes.
And Kate could have been established as Hawkeye on her own.
Right. And
like
then
she could have, like in the comics,
right. And then
Clint,
maybe Clint's still involved in this series, but he comes in as this like mentor role way more than he was in this show. And like kind of helping the two of them figure out how to fill the shoes of these great heroes that we've seen. So I wish that we would have gotten the fill-in of the backstory of Clint and Natasha and Black Widow, and then this would have been focused on.
Or
Yelena
like Liz has said before, we wouldn't need Clint as the mentor. It could have been Linda Cardellini.
Yep.
Agent 19 as the mentor.
True
and
that.
we could have seen her be an actual S.H.I.E.L.D. agent.
True that.
And I think the mom parallels work better if it's Laura Barton mentoring Kate.
Yeah.
As a direct comparison and contrast to Kate's mother.
Well, one other major like question mark I have at the end of this series is what's happening with Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye? Because the way that this was initially pitched, like way back at D23, like 5 years ago, was like the like swan song for Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye. And I always thought going into it, and I know you have all said this, is like, okay, this is like Jeremy Renner's exit and Lee Steinfeld's entrance.
Yeah,
like that's what
it did not end on that.
Not how it ended.
It was neither of those things. And so I'm like, did Jeremy sign more like contracts? Like, does he have more movie deals? Because if they just never bring him back after this, that will make zero sense. So I feel like they have to. But like, I'm so confused on where that.
How are they going to find an exit for him now?
Right, because like,
yeah,
especially because they ended with Kate with his family. So they're like now intrinsically linked.
And like Clint, the man has tried to retire like 17 times now. It's like, how many more times are they going to be like, oh no, now he's really done? Like,
no, yeah.
It's going to be like the Oliver Queen issue of like, how many times can they say that they're going to walk away and then be dragged back in?
Yeah.
That's why like
I'm gonna let Sly jump in. I'm gonna let Sly jump in.
I'm sorry.
Sly, go for it.
Talking.
No, it's okay.
No, my last thought was about Kingpin. Do you want to circle back to that, or are we just leaving that?
No, circle back. Circle back.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to say that like his dialogue was so flat here and did not match his character, which was weird. They either needed way less of him or way more. The like in between didn't work. If he's way less, just like this like ominous like over like figure that we hear about and just like quickly see, that could be successful. Or you have to establish him as a character. You have to do one of those two things, and they did not achieve that. So that was really disappointing. I wish we saw less of him and just set it up to introduce more of him in the Echo show. I think
if
that
Kingpin had been the post-credit scenes, like wouldn't that have been incredible? Right?
But I thought gonna happen.
Like if the conversation between
episode.
Sorry, there was a delay on my end. I didn't mean to speak over you. Could you say that again?
Oh, well, that was the post credits. Like I thought we were gonna get going into the episode, and then he was in the whole episode.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't we have let maybe Eleanor be like the big bad of the episode and like have her moving the tracksuits around?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I agree with you guys. And that might be the first time that I ever think, oh, wow, I wish I would have seen less of that character. Because I don't think I would have ever said that, but you're so right. If it would have just been like the photo in the end of like episode 5, and then we get a scene with him saying something and a big reveal, and that's the cliffhanger of. And like, don't get me wrong,
The scene with Maya and Kingpin in the alley as a post-credit scene, that would have been a big end Hawkeye on.
Would have been way more exciting. Way more exciting.
Yes and no. I feel like you have to establish their connection before you can see that, right?
Yeah, that's true. Very fair.
But also, okay, this is like a little bit of a tangent, but his sign was so little and awful, god awful signing from him. It was nothing. It meant
above
nothing.
or below Jeremy Renner.
That was going to be my question. Was like, he and Jeremy Renner took the same classes.
No, Renner was worse.
Oh wow.
Ugh.
Well, I think Renner had more opportunities to be good, and like, you know, versus Kingpin's
more
limited
opportunities where he messed it up, and Kingpin tried for like 1 or 2 signs. That was it.
So speaking of awful signing, I want to bring the conversation to a season wrap. Like let's put the bow on our conversations about representation this season. And obviously we've had many conversations about representation and the various forms of representation that we've seen from Hawkeye. And obviously we're not going to be able to hit every single beat we've talked about through every episode of Hawkeye, but to talk about some of the big themes of representation, let's first talk about the signing and the deaf representation on the show. And I feel like if you're a religious Stark radio viewer, you know our takes on this. But now that we're at the end of the show, Sly, how are you feeling kind of looking at the series as a whole? You've spoken a little bit about this episode and what we saw in this episode, but where are you now with this and where do we go from here?
I have a hard time criticizing this show because they have an amazing deaf Indigenous woman as an actor on this show, and that's amazing. My problem with the show in general is they prioritized a white hearing actor man to be the main deaf representation in this show and didn't do a good job with that. And that sucks because when people were talking about this show before we had seen anything, people were saying, oh, Jeremy Renner as Clint is deaf. This is a huge win for deaf representation. No, it's not. It's awful representation. It's a step back from what we've already seen in the MCU. And prioritizing his portrayal of deafness and prioritizing a speaking deaf person, somebody who's vocal, and diminishing a signing only deaf person is really disappointing. And I know, like, I have so much privilege in my experience in my life, especially because I have some residual hearing and I'm comfortable voicing for myself. And that gives me so much privilege in the world. And so I wish we saw more from these amazing, beautiful deaf actors that they're hiring. They're like doing the work to hire these people and then not spotlighting them, not representing them, not uplifting them. And that is just so disappointing because you have the opportunity, you're just not taking advantage of it.
Or is it this? I think this is this, yeah. So perfectly said. I want to ask you, what is the moving forward, right? Because we have seen, like, as you perfectly said, we've seen representation in the MCU and other projects as well now, right? So now there's kind of this interesting point that the MCU faces where they have multiple points of comparison done to various extents of being done well, being done not so well, in terms of what a character did or did not do, what was edited, like the framing that we've talked about all season. There's so many different points of comparison within this franchise. Framing. We didn't even talk about the framing this episode. So what would be some of
Still terrible.
Still terrible. Not much has changed. What would be some of the wins for Marvel, like moving into phase 4? Like what can we learn from Hawkeye? What can be some of what we might want to see from Echo? What do we want to see done differently? What are some of these not big predictions, but how do we think about this moving forward?
The biggest thing I've said so many times on this show, every episode I say the same thing, right? Hire deaf people. And yeah, we have amazing representation in front of the camera now. That's great. That's step 1, right? Now hire deaf people for the background. Hire deaf writers, hire deaf cinematographers, hire deaf people who are amazingly skilled in their fields to work on your projects. That's it. That's all you got to do. They have skill, they have experience, they're out there in the world. Find them and use them.
And Sly's contact information.
Hire me.
Hire Sly specifically as well. And I want to once again, I've said this in the first episode of the show and I want to say it again. Thank you for the emotional labor you do to represent the community and knowing that your perspective is one perspective of the many in the community that exist. Even with the understanding of you do not speak for all, you speak for your experience and yourself, it's still so appreciated. And you've brought so much to us and have brought so much to how we consider this show. I don't think anyone's going to be able to watch any MCU project without considering framing moving forward. I know I'm forever impacted by our conversations. So thank you for everything that you've done to help share your perspective and teach everyone a little bit about the community and kind of help empower everyone to also go seek out information on their own and become educated and help uplift your voice and the many other voices that are speaking to this and advocating for this. It's important work and you do it so well.
Thank you.
And also thank you for joining us in general this season, Sly. It's been so fun having you here, but we can talk about that later because I'm not going to get emotional right now. Let's also talk about... we adore you. We love you. Let's talk about representation in terms of women in this series. That's the other overarching theme of this Hawkeye after party and also Stark Radio in general. We cannot put a bow on anything without just speaking to how we feel about the representation of women. I want to go to Alexis first because Alexis, this is our second season, you and me not battling out, but you and me as a unit now with everyone else here, but specifically us against the world battling about representation of women in the MCU. And I feel like we're ending this season in the same place we started with the What If after parties. I really don't feel like the dial's been turned all that much. How are you feeling?
You're muted.
Yeah, I don't feel like the dial is turned, right? I wanted it to. But to me, through the run of this series, a series that I really felt going into was going to be passing of the mantle on to Kate, which did not happen. That they just kept missing things, right? And one of the things I always say is that Marvel seems to be feeling it should be applauded for representation that other media gave us 10 years ago. And I think they're making the same mistakes in their representation of female characters that other properties did 10 years ago. So that loosely is how I feel about it. One of the things that to me, I think really stood out about the finale was Laura Barton, and to kind of see Marvel fall into the trap with Laura that they did when they originally introduced Mockingbird in the comics, right? And it's very interesting because there were several female characters that were kind of introduced in the same phase of comics, and so they all kind of had this issue of being characters that we heard a lot about, but never had enough page time with to actually see what they were capable of. And they were generally introduced within their relationships to other people. And it's something that I feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually handled much better in kind of giving Bobby an independent personality, right? But Laura kind of falls back into that trope of like somebody that I'm told a lot of cool things about, but I haven't seen any of them. And I'm only told about them in relationship to like her husband, right?
Absolutely.
So when we look at the places that like that in comparison, like with the other places representation is like failed Kate and like being this person that had all of this training that could never consistently use it, and being somebody that they gave moments to in the show that were given to Clint in the comics as kind of this signal to those of us that had read comics that she was going to be important when she really was at some points an afterthought in her own story, right? And to do what they did with Echo, I just feel like they keep kind of teasing me with the idea that they're going to do better, but actually not putting in the work to do better.
No, absolutely. Something that's been happening in my mind that I don't really think is a fair comparison to make, but Marissa, I'm gonna throw you in on this train of thought. Throughout this entire series, I've been thinking a lot about the Eternals, which I don't feel is a fair comparison because they're such different projects in every sense of the word. Especially in terms of the Eternals is a project where we had like little to no familiarity with what the F was going on, versus in Hawkeye, we had so much familiarity with like characters and places and throwbacks to other projects that we know. But I think the reason why I still stick in that frame of mind was because they had similar goals of establishing these strong, well-written female characters and multiple strong, well-written female characters. And, you know, I wouldn't say one project like trumped another, but you can really see how thoughtful the writing was in the Eternals in some cases and how we did not have that thoughtfulness in this project. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree. Alexis wrote a tweet a few days ago about how Marvel projects
Alexis' face, I'm sorry.
about how projects can pass the Bechdel test but still fail their female characters. And I think Hawkeye is an example of that. We've gotten a few episodes where they passed the Bechdel test, and yet we don't know anything more about the characters. Like I don't know really who Kate Bishop is beyond Hawkeye stan and rich girl, like, and I don't know who Eleanor is other than my husband made a mess, so I joined the mob to clean it up. And I think just in general the writing of this show missed the mark on making characters. Like there were people and they said words, but they were not fully developed independent characters like outside of each other. Like Kate was always in relation to Clint, Eleanor was always in relation to Kate, Yelena was in relation to Natasha, Cassie was in relation to Maya was in relation to Kingpin. Like they're all dependent on somebody else rather than being individual actualized characters. And it's disappointing that like they had so many opportunities and so many characters within this show that got muddled, I think, because there were so many. It got too complicated, and it was like, you don't need to know any more than this, so you don't get to, basically.
And like jumping off of that, something that I'm hopeful for is that Echo, like the new project Echo, is going to give space for some characters to actually develop and breathe. Hopefully. We'll see if that happens. But Jack, I wonder for you, what do you think that series can accomplish that Hawkeye did not accomplish for these characters? Obviously, they're going to accomplish something by having the time to do it, but thinking at a base level of what the show gave these characters and what the MCU can give characters moving forward, what do you think we could expect from the new Echo project?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think it reflects what my concern, and I think a lot of people's concern is about the trajectory of the MCU right now in the quality versus quantity, right? And I think it's kind of what you're all touching base on of like we want more content and we're getting all this like content, we're getting it really quickly, but is it all as thoughtful as it was when every movie would have their own 3 months of space, both in creation and release? I don't know. And they can still do it. I mean, Spider-Man blew my mind. I absolutely loved it. But then I watched Hawkeye and I'm like, this is what I'm worried about. Of like, it feels rushed and it feels like a bit of a rinse and repeat. And I really hope, looking at all of these new characters that they're introducing and giving time to really tell their stories, that we don't experience that same fatigue. Because with characters like Echo, or even like Moon Knight or She-Hulk, or Miss Marvel, like these characters that all represent in their own ways totally unique people and perspectives from different communities. I want to be able to watch them have their own Iron Man story, you know, their Iron Man like hero's journey. And I'm just using that because that was like the first one and it did it so well way back in the day. Opposed to what I kind of felt like we got with a lot of the characters in Hawkeye, of especially with someone like Kingpin, of like, if you know, you're fine, and if not, whoops, you know. And so I just hope that they can use these series coming forward to really take time to let us see these perspectives. And as you're all saying, it comes from an authentic voice on the other end of the camera, which is crucial. And that we get to watch these characters learn how to be heroes, but also how to be people. And I think that's what we were missing most in Hawkeye.
Yeah.
We didn't really see them be people, and I want to see them be people. I think that's why we all love Peter Parker so much, is because his peopleness, bleeds through Spider-Man.
Feels like a real person.
Totally.
Exactly.
That's the same way I feel about Sam Wilson. I think Sam Wilson's such a cool character because he's such a person. And I think Anthony Mackie deserves some credit for that, because I think he brings a lot of himself to how he portrays Sam, but he does feel much more grounded than I think even Steve Rogers at times.
I agree with
even
that.
with the limited
100%.
presence. But that's a whole conversation for another day. I do think that, just kind of a wrapping point on all of this, because I think all of you I agree with all of you completely. And I think that part of me wants to assume that the reason why some of the choices were made by Marvel was because of fear of story rejection by the audience. Because they told one story for so long, which is the white male hero story. And it took so long for them to expand beyond that trope to get us anywhere, that we're now in phase 4 and they've crowned the new Captain America, who happens to be a Black African-American man. We got a Black Widow movie in phase 4, which is very controversial and many would say is not the story Natasha deserved. We're getting stories like Hawkeye, what we'll see from Echo, what we saw in the Eternals, that are trying to bring in all of this inclusion, but in a way that still includes these kind of safe play tropes that they know the audience will accept, which tends to be these heteronormative white savior stories. So what I want to say to Marvel is that we do a show every week where we talk about your projects, and we've built a community of people that are excited to talk about representation, that it's not just the singular trope that was proven to be successful in the first phases of Marvel. So if you're worried about promoting these stories, about creating these stories, about hiring behind the camera the authentic voice that can bring those stories to life, this show is literally proving that you have paying consumers willing to buy tickets, buy subscriptions, buy the merch, get to the theater, recommend and talk about these shows together and to others. Like, there is tangible data that shows that we are here and listening and watching and want more. So let's start telling these stories without the safety nets of people like Clint Barton, who deserve their own stories and deserve their own representation to be done correctly. But we don't need to safety net Yelena and Kate Bishop and really cool, exciting new characters by grouping them with all of these other thoughts and projects for the sake of making it more sellable. We don't need it. We'd be happy without it. And we'd be happy for you to just do a story about those male presenting characters on their own, if that's the story you want to tell. But let us have our moments too, without all of that. And I don't want to just like speak for everyone. So if anyone wants to jump in on that train of thought, feel free. Or don't.
I want to see one project where a man is not a main character at all. That shouldn't be a big ask.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
I want to quickly just mention, I have not talked a lot about like queer representation and trans representation in conjunction with the MCU on this show. And that's for a reason. Like, that was the choice I made. But I think it's important to discuss, especially here in the final episode. There's a reason that I don't want to talk about it and I don't want to see it, is that I don't trust the writers. I don't trust the directors. I don't trust Marvel with those characters. And that's a problem. And that needs to change. I should want to see trans characters. But I know they're not going to do a good job with them. So I don't want to see bad representation. And so I think the one like big request I have for Marvel is prove I can trust you.
So that is like the perfect summary of this show. Like you,
Yeah.
This is a new phase. It's a new calendar year. It's a new era. Like go forth, Marvel, and prove that the viewers can trust you with these precious needed stories. Well said. And I think also a good time to plug that Sly does have other shows in which there's a variety of things covered, both of the serious representation and also like Andrew Garfield. So if you'd like to hear Sly's thoughts on a variety of topics, you can go watch MC University and other shows on Point in Progress.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just feel like it's like good to establish that in this moment. You do also do many other things in which you talk about many things.
If you want to hear our thoughts about the god-awful movie Punisher from 2004, go check out the last episode of MC University.
I forgot that movie existed.
Awful.
I'm really upset that you made me remember.
Listen to my episode.
I haven't seen it, so I'm feeling like maybe a senior watch party is in order to like.
Don't watch it.
Yeah, Sly has said several times, don't watch the movie, just listen to the MC University
I will.
episode
I'll do a
instead.
senior watch party of me watching your.
Oh, yeah.
Punisher.
Our episode. Perfect.
It's literally a comic book on screen in all of the worst ways.
Oh god. That's not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah. So I'll let you kind of. But
Okay, we have one more like topic to get to before we close the show. It's a fun one, but I want to just make sure if anyone else wants to jump in on this point of representation that we do so before we move on to our fun finale.
I think Sly nailed it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So let's end the show on the most anticipated note. The whole reason why, like the foundation of our entire show was built on the What If After Party series, which completely spiraled because of our dislike of What If into theorizing about Rogers the Musical. The whole reason why Marissa ever came here in the first place was because Marissa knew she had a place in this conversation and rightfully took that place to talk to us about Rogers the Musical. So we're going to end the show the way it started, with Rogers the Musical. And very specifically, it's been in the news this week. If you have not heard, they're actually talking about doing Rogers the Musical as a real Broadway show. So just to recap before we get political, which we will, and you see the political faces on your screen, I do want to remind everyone, if you go back to the What If After Party series, the second hour of most episodes, I think episode 3 or 4 onwards, the second hour of every episode, we did a different bit about Rogers the Musical. We talked about it as like who we would fan cast, what songs would make sense, what story arcs would make sense, if it was from Bucky's perspective or Steve's perspective. So if you want to know our thoughts on what Rogers the Musical should be, I encourage you to go back and rewatch those pieces. And also the first episode of this series, the Hawkeye After Party. But with that covered, because we're not going to revisit those conversations, I'm going to do a big plot twist that no one's expecting. I'm going to go to Jack first. And maybe I'll let Marissa set up why we're going to Jack first, because I think you understand why
I do.
And
I warned him about this. Jack loves Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. He saw it on Broadway.
Jack, you're my favorite person.
Jack,
Was everyone alive and not bodily harmed when you saw it on Broadway?
Yeah, no, yeah, I loved it, and I got a backstage tour.
He did
as well. I stood on the stage.
so
I got to like see the props, hold the prosthetics for the Green Goblin. It was incredible. Yeah, I really did like it. I really did, because it took two of my greatest loves in life, musical theater and Marvel, and just put them together in not a terrible way.
It's
You know,
fun.
and I think that's largely because
Not a terrible way
no
that
one died when I saw
caused
it.
bodily
Yeah,
harm to
yeah,
several cast members.
The stunts and like effects were like mind-blowingly amazing. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that in live theater. Like there was a whole glider fight between Green Goblin and Spider-Man that happened over the orchestra circle. Like it was a 4-way like wire system, so they could like move all directions, like up, down, like all like 3 points of what is it, perspective? What you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And it was insane. It, like both of them were up there fighting each other. I don't think they were singing, but they were talking. Like during this, like over your head. It was insane. It was insane.
But
So-
what about Rogers the Musical compared to
Right.
that?
No, I'm sorry. I didn't
No. I know you had to set it up for us, because I was kind of
Yeah.
begging to hear it straight from the source.
Rogers the Musical was intentionally bad. Like it played into all the tropes of like modern American musical theater, and like the song was catchy, but like in a bad way. And the costumes and effects were like cheesy. Of like they were like all like at Comic-Con almost. Like there was like lazy like cosplay.
They look like
and
closet cosplay.
right, yeah, all of that. It was like a frat party through like an Avengers theme. You know, it was like like the ideas were there, but it was not well executed. Anyways,
But you still said you would see it.
but yeah, that's what I was. Well, you jumped the gun on that one, but yeah. But I was gonna say, all that being said, if that musical existed in its exact form as it's portrayed on screen, I would like be on the website like waiting to buy my tickets as soon as they went live, so I didn't miss it. Also,
Okay.
if they're gonna make it, I'm more than willing for them to scrap everything that was on screen and take it in a much more like serious and well-intended manner, because that would make me much more happy. Because like Spider-Man was a little tongue-in-cheek, but it actually did take itself fairly seriously, and I think it was more successful because of it. I feel like if the whole thing would have been kind of like, oh yeah, we know it's stupid, I don't think I would have ended up liking it. Like it needs to like believe in itself in order for it to succeed, and what we saw in Hawkeye did
Did not believe in
So-
itself.
No.
But just to
No.
be super clear, regardless, would still go watch it. There you go.
Okay, Marissa, would go watch it, would not go watch it, and what is your wish list if it does come true? And I want to say very quickly, we demand royalties if any of our ideas are used.
Yeah,
This is public domain.
absolutely.
Contact us.
Marvel, Disney,
Marvel. Broadway, whoever's at Broadway that handles
Contact
those
me.
things, the whole
Disney
street
theatrics.
I love you. Just Broadway.
in general.
Broadway.
The street? Yeah, okay.
The street. I want
Yeah.
an addressed letter
Perfect.
from the street. Thank you so much.
Oh, I would see it. Yeah. Even if it would, yeah. Even honestly, I don't want it in the way it exists now. But even if
Yeah.
it existed in the way it exists now, I would still see it.
Right.
Yeah. But I wish for a dark, gritty pop rock show that
That's not gonna
addresses Steve Rogers' trauma. That is
You
more about
want-
his friendship
You want
with
1917 the musical?
Bear. I was gonna say you want Bear,
yes.
but
I want Spring
Steve.
Awakening about Steve Rogers.
That's true. I was gonna say Spring Awakening.
I want Spring Awakening about Steve
I
Rogers.
do not want Spring Awakening about Steve Rogers. I want to put that on the record.
I don't
think
want the
Bear
plot of
would
Spring
be an
Awakening.
awesome comparison.
Oh, no, you know what? You know what I do want? You know what? I want Rogers the musical, but it's Jonathan Groff.
Yeah.
And Leah Michelle can play Bucky.
no!
That's it.
Oh my god.
No.
In class.
I will say,
Yes, well done.
since I have the floor, I just have to say one thing about the post-credit scene. It was
Yeah.
thrilling. I loved it. I was not expecting anything else. Like I knew we were not getting anything consequential from that post-credit scene. I thought it was going to be like some joke, some like Christmas song or something. So I had no problem with it. However, there should have been a pan to the audience, and we should have had either a Yelena or Sam and Bucky.
Yeah.
And they
And
were
Alpine.
definitely possible. Just bank a reaction shot from Sebastian and Anthony when they're doing the reshoots for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, like back in March. That's just. It would have been so easy. It would have been.
Don't even
so
tell them what they're
easy.
reacting to. Just make them
No.
sit in chairs and
They do.
like,
Marvel
do
does
their
that
thing.
all the time. Marvel does
Yeah.
that all the time.
They do it for free.
Yeah, Brie Larson's first scene in Infinity War, she didn't know who she was talking to. She was just standing alone on a green screen. Just do that with Sebastian and Anthony and just have them look disgusted for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
All I
absolutely. Alexis, how are you feeling? Would you go see it?
Okay, here's the thing. I, as an adult human, as a woman getting ready to pursue her master's for the first time, went and saw Marvel Universe Live and enjoyed it. So I would go, right? I would be in attendance. However, I would also like to bring this back around to the moment that I knew that I was going to make Marissa be friends with me. And that moment was when I started posting videos about Rogers the Musical being bombshell, and Marissa knew what I was talking about. I was like, Marissa, I am stealing her. She will become my friend whether she wants to or not. And that's how that worked out, right? So there's an interesting commentary on that show where they like talk about like the 2 different musicals, right? They can do this really flashy Marilyn Monroe musical that's the musical people expect, or they can do this kind of more stripped down musical that like focuses on her life and like who she was as a person and is really like introspective. And that is my wish list, Rogers musical. However, if I got Marvel Universe Live but worse, I would still go watch it.
Yeah.
Slide.
I would go instantly. I would drop everything in my life to go. I just gotta say, my cast choices are perfect.
They are.
Use
It's true.
them. They're amazing. Go check out my TikTok. I think it's a pinned video. They're
That's how good
perfect.
they are. They're
Use
pinned
them.
on Sly's TikTok.
It's amazing. Please watch that video because I all of my picks that I want to see in the show. Just oh my gosh. I would go see it. I want it to be the more, grounded understanding of Steve's life, but also I love Star Kid. And if
Mhm.
that's the direction they're gonna go with it, that's fine. It's fine with
I
me.
agree with
Yeah.
you. And I just want to say I genuinely believe that Star Kid would do Rogers the Musical better than a Broadway performance.
100%.
I would drop
Give
anything.
them the right.
Yeah.
Give
Yeah.
them the right.
Give it to Star Kid. Honestly, let
Perfect.
them go. Have fun. Put them on Broadway to do this. Like that.
Mhm.
That would be fantastic. I have a hot take that I don't know if I've explicitly expressed on this show, because now we're talking about it
Ooh.
becoming like a real our universe thing, not like a thing that exists in the MCU. We're talking about our world, tangible Broadway. I'm like touching my desk, like tangible Broadway stage. And of all the superhero stories you're going to tell, you're going to retell Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
If you're going to do a real world MCU Broadway show, there are so many other interesting characters to do a Broadway show around. Like so many. So I
Like
think
Alpine.
like Alpine.
Alpine.
And I also think that we've seen in like the first Captain America, like we saw what like the Steve origin story is. And I think that that movie did that justice. So I would not want to see like Rogers the Musical just redo the stories that have been kind of, I don't want to use the phrase, and I want to use it, evicted to like the forever extent, I suppose, like, because I don't want to say the same because the words are not good words to say when we're live. So I just think there's better stories for a musical than Rogers the Musical, unless you're going the more satirical route. And for that reason, and also because it's very expensive for me to fly out of Canada, I probably would not drop everything to see a real Broadway performance of Rogers the Musical, especially if it was the same music that we saw in the Hawkeye show, because it was just not, it was meant to not be great, and it was not great.
Yeah.
So I would
I
tell
wanna add
those
to your point.
with the powers to be
Yeah.
to consider other people for this and other stories to tell, because we don't need another Steve Rogers story, in my opinion. Go ahead, Sly.
I want a Marvel musical, right?
Mhm.
I don't care what the story is. It's great if it's Rogers. It's great if it's something different. I don't care. But my one requirement is you have to have Barrett Doss as Fury and Alex Wise as Coulson.
Yes.
Period.
They're the only options.
Yeah.
And I need them in whatever musical you make.
Yep. Alexis, were you gonna?
No, my one requirement was that if this was going to be like a satirical, fun musical, and Hulk is not a giant green inflatable dude.
Listen, I have the graphic queued up. I was going there.
I was like, we have gotten through this whole discussion and no one has brought up the inflatable dude. And if I don't, I will feel very guilty.
Listen, the one casting of all those episodes where we theorized about Rogers the Musical, this was not the prediction that I ever expected was going to make it to the final Hawkeye show, but I am glad it did. And with that, you know, we've really experienced a lot this season, from the horrible texting to the inflatables to like this Sharon Carter thing that was never really fully explained, you know, to the Pym arrows, to the bad wigs and the better Yelena expressions. The series has really given us like a lot to work with. So I want to just give everyone one, like, this is like your last lot of our Hawkeye the After Party series. What is the message that you want to end on, or the point that you want to return to and just hammer home one more time? Sly, I'll let you go first.
I feel like I've already said it. Hire deaf people.
Especially with framing considerations. Like, you want to just like tack on like the framing. Yeah.
Hire a deaf director of photography, please, for the love of God.
I don't mean to put words in your mouth. I just really feel like the framing thing has to be like
Exactly right.
on a billboard. Marissa?
It should have been Kate and Yelena's show, and Maya was underused.
Okay.
Mic
Jack?
drop.
Despite telling you all the things that I disliked about it, overall, I still get super excited to watch a new episode of Marvel content every time it exists, and I want them to keep making stuff. But I want them to keep making stuff and continue to strive to be better. So more inclusive, more thoughtful, more people stories. But I'll be there regardless of if it's these shows, better shows, or Rogers the Musical. And I guess the last thing I'll add, if they do make Rogers the Musical, please don't put Ant-Man in it. Because I know they did that just to piss you off, because that happens all the time where they add things or change things just because it makes it more interesting. But it really did piss me off. And I read an article about how I'm like, oh, I bet he was in it because
someone saw him during
someone saw him when they went back in time. And I'm like, no, guys, no, that's not.
The creators literally said you're always gonna get something wrong.
Right.
And that's why they put him in.
Right.
Like the creators said that.
Right.
I still can't believe we didn't get Ben Platt. I really thought that was going to be a thing.
I honestly, I was braced. I was fully braced for it. My final thought is continue with whatever, notes you have on Yelena's fashion and humor, because it works. And if you're going to make Kate Bishop important, let her breathe and let Haley Steinfeld lead what happens to Kate, because she knows what she's doing with that character more so than I think anybody else. Alexis, I'm purposefully giving you the last word because you have a message that you tend to end every show with.
Oh yeah, I'm ready for that. I thought this was going another direction and I was like, I'm not prepared for the wisdom I'm supposed to impart on the peoples. I would say give all the characters room to breathe. I think that's important. And I swear to God, if you give me another show with an animal lead and it's not Alpine, you don't want to know what's coming for you. The end.
You were a little bit quicker than me. Let me just one more. One more time.
She has more to say.
I have more to say.
We couldn't end our last after party without giving you a moment with
my Alpine banner.
Yeah, your Alpine banner.
Breaking
Justice
news
for Alpine.
And there you have it, folks. And I want to thank everyone who is watching, everyone who's tuned in this entire season. It's been so fun to watch the show with you all and to see so many of you coming back week after week to hang out with us and talk about our theories and our opinions and have these important conversations, and equally as important conversations about silly things that don't really have real world consequences. So thank you for being part of it. Whether it's been your first season with us at Stark Radio or you're coming back, we're grateful that you're a part of this community, and we're so excited. Because just because Marvel isn't doing much doesn't mean we're not doing much. We've got a lot coming up. We have more creators that will be joining us for shows, from battling over their hottest hot takes about the MCU to PowerPoint parties returning. We'll be doing more commentary as more shows get released. So as the next Marvel show is announced and the dates are announced and released, know that you'll be able to come back here every week and continue to hear commentary around these shows as they come out. The station head shows, which I know there was questions coming in about when's the next station head party. They're returning now that the holidays are done. So make sure you're following producer Liz. Where is it? On my screen somewhere. Make sure you're following producer Liz on Instagram, because that's where all the station head shows are going to be announced for this month very soon. And I'll let everyone plug themselves quickly. I'm producer Liz on TikTok and Instagram. Instagram stories is where all the updates go first, because it's easiest for me. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitch, and Station Head at Stark Radio Show. And trust me, this is going to be a big year for this show. I'm so excited for where this community is going, and I really hope everyone who's watching sticks around to see what's next. Sly, go ahead. You're next on my screen. Plug yourself to let the people know where they can find you.
personally at SlyCloneMC. That's ClyClonemc. It's weird, I know. And you can find all of my other shows, everything else, pretty much everywhere on the internet at Point in Progress.
Alexis.
Oh, I'm Alexis Blake Reads Comics on TikTok and Instagram. I'm also on Twitter. You can find the link to that in my bio. And I talk about comics and cats.
Very happily.
Yes.
Jack.
My TikTok is Jack Out of the Box Productions, Jack Out of the Box Prod. Some buddies and I are doing some sketches that are going to be coming out in the new year. We already have like 5 of them in the works. So if you like funny, ridiculous, short sketches, check us out. Also, my Instagram's JackLongo99. I rarely post, but feel free to follow me.
I'm at Miss Bobissa, 4 S's.
You didn't let me introduce you after all of your shit talking about never getting introduced. I had a full introduction ready for you. I want you to know that.
You want to get it anyway?
I do actually.
Okay,
I was gonna
great.
ask Alexis to do a drum roll, but then I think you just did.
I did.
Would
I
you
read
like-
your mind.
Would you like to do it again?
I don't know if I can do it again. You always make me laugh before I have to do it. There.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. I was going to say, and last but never least, the wig expert of Stark Radio, the never invited, always showed up bestie to the party with the hot opinions, hot takes, hot videos, and even hotter tweets. Tell the people who you are, Marissa.
Thank you very much. That was great.
I prepared that for you.
I'm glad I
didn't know
didn't interrupt. Yes, I am Marissa at Miss Obopowith. At Miss
Rewind.
Bobissa, at Miss Bobissa, 4 S's and a W, on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And yeah, you can find me over there. Mostly
Marissa's
TikTok and
famous
Twitter.
now. If you did not see, you can go follow Marissa on Twitter, and you'll discover what happened over the holidays.
I went viral for a sec. It was fun. It was scary, but it was fun.
And I want to thank everyone on screen for joining us for this season. Alexis, thank you for coming back for your second season of dealing with this. So grateful that you jumped on the What If train and have just continued being the conductor of all of this with me. Marissa, thank you for choosing to be here. We're so grateful that you jumped on the train and just never got off with us. Sly has been here since day 1 of these live shows, everybody. Sly was literally like the first viewer we ever had, I think. And it's just been such a joy to actually have conversation with you face to face and not just like in the comments. And you're so smart and intelligent and all your shows are great. And Jack, thank you for we always have a guest for the finale. I don't think we could have picked a better guest for this one. It was so fun having you here, and you will definitely be invited back the more we learn about Marissa's hot opinions that are to be debated. I think we have some shows that you two would be a perfect fit for. So I hope that you agree to come back in future episodes, and I hope everybody watching comes back for future seasons, or not future seasons, but the future episodes that we're working on behind the scenes here on Stark Radio. And with that, we'll say goodnight to TikTok first because there's a delay on YouTube as usual. So goodnight, TikTok. Thanks so much. And we will end this live. And we'll say goodnight to everyone on YouTube and Twitch. And stay tuned on Instagram stories for details on what's next. Bye.